I pushed the heavy front door open, and a gust of wet wind followed me inside. Rainwater dripped from my coat onto the faded carpet, spreading into dark patches beneath my feet. The door slammed shut behind me with a dull, final thud that echoed through the empty lobby. The place smelled wrong, like damp cloth and old polish, like it had been sealed for years. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded small under the constant hiss of rain hitting the windows. No answer. I stepped further inside. The lighting was strange, yellow, not warm. The kind of yellow that made everything look tired. Cracks ran along the leather chairs, and the wallpaper peeled at the edges like it was trying to escape the walls. "This place is stuck in time," I muttered. Each step I took made a soft, wet sound against the carpet. It felt too quiet, like the silence itself was watching. When I reached the front desk, I finally saw him. The receptionist stood behind the counter, completely still. He was staring straight at me, not blinking. For a second, I thought he might not even be real, like one of those mannequins you see in old stores, except this one was breathing. "Hey," I said. "I just need a room for the night." No response. "I've been driving for hours," I added. "I can pay now, card or cash." Still nothing. The silence started to feel intentional, like there was a rule I didn't understand yet. Then, slowly, his hand moved. He reached down, picked up a brass key, and slid it across the counter toward me. That was it. No words, no explanation. I hesitated, then picked it up. The metal was cold, colder than it should have been. It almost stung my fingers. Room 502. Thunder shook the windows behind me, and for a moment the lights flickered overhead. "5th floor," I said quietly. I looked back at him. "The elevator?" He didn't respond. I waited a second longer, then nodded to myself. "Stairs. Got it." There was no point arguing with silence. I turned and walked down the hallway. It felt longer than it should have been, stretching out under a buzzing exit sign and a single dim light on the wall. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see if he was still watching. At the end of the hall, I found the stairwell door. The metal handle felt just as cold as the key. As I reached for it, thunder rolled outside. But for a moment, it didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like footsteps. Above me. I froze, then shook my head. "It's just the storm," I whispered to myself. It had to be. I pushed the door open, and it creaked into darkness. The air inside was thick, dusty, cold, like no one had used it in a long time. I stepped in anyway. Each footstep echoed up the stairwell as I climbed. 1st floor, 2nd, 3rd. By the time I reached the 4th, my legs felt heavier than they should have. And the air. It was getting colder. Not normal cold, the kind that seeps into your bones. Finally, I reached the 5th floor. The hallway was worse than the one below, narrow, dim. The lights flickered just enough to make everything feel unstable, like the place couldn't decide whether it wanted to exist or not. I checked the numbers on the doors as I walked. 500, 501. Then I stopped. "This is it," I whispered. "Just a room. Just a place to sleep. That's all I needed." But something felt off. The hallway was too quiet, too still, like it was waiting. I looked down at the key in my hand, still cold. I stepped closer to the door. For a second, I hesitated. I didn't know why. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the man downstairs. Or maybe it was the feeling that I wasn't alone. I forced a breath and slid the key into the lock. It turned slowly, with a soft click. I pushed the door open. Darkness. A thin strip of hallway light stretched into the room, revealing shapes. Bed, dresser, curtains drawn tight. The air inside felt heavier, colder than the hallway. "Hello?" I called out. Nothing. No movement, no sound. I stepped inside. And just before I reached for the light switch, I noticed something. On the mirror across the room, there was a handprint, fresh, pressed from the inside.